that actually gave a little tutorial. So, been talking to quite a few people, so I figured I'd give a sort of a breakdown of how the stats work and where your damage is coming from, and also I'll do a different build than before because that one's a little bit more difficult to manage in an actual raid environment. So, I mean, it's still haste, but the way that haste and crit and haste sort of have a relationship with each other. The further apart they are, the less effect, or the less effective those talents are. So the closer you can get them, the better. after about 30, after about 30% critical strike, it's a little bit more manageable. I really don't have much haste right now, but after 30% critical strike, you can more effectively keep your chains of chain reaction up, which is like one of your most important buffs, especially if you're not playing with Rune of Power, which is the build I'll be showing here. This is, it does take a little bit. A lot of times you're going to be, I don't know, you really just want to make sure you're not hanging on to cooldowns. You want to be using them as much as possible, and then when in your downtime, you want to use your ice lances a lot more sparingly and make sure you're benefiting from chain reaction as much as possible. So, I don't know, I can show the opener. I still have proc trinkets, but I'm just going to open with Frostbolt because I could potentially get a crit, and that will give me 20% on my first few ice lances. So, still, you pre-pot, you start with your Frostbolt, throw out your orb, throw that Icy Veins up, and I just wasted that. Also, I start with Water Jet before I use my holy shit, I'm so bad at talking into it. So I'll take a break for a second. Alright. Whenever you get a brain freeze, the way that you deal with it is it's going to give you your chain reaction. If you cast a Frostbolt into it, you get another Ice Lance after, but you also get a chain reaction. So that's what you're going to be trying to benefit from pretty much every time you have one. And it's also going to be doing a fair bit of damage. The Frost Bomb, generally, it's hard to remember to keep up, but you really want to make sure that you're getting 3 or 4, like I said in the previous video. But now I'm just sort of casting Frostbolts too. See here, I'm just going to wait for 1 crit, and I'm just going to spend everything. And not have my Frostbolt up like new. Then see how I'll get a guaranteed crit here. I have enough time until my Icy Veins is up. I'll just toss one so I don't overstack. And here again, I'll toss one so I don't overstack. But I have a lot of cooldowns to get my Ice Lances up, basically, so I'm still going to be spinning through pretty much everything pretty fast. Again, mostly whenever I'm tossing them, I'm just doing it so I don't overstack. Here, I'm going to get a guaranteed, and I'll be casting on 3. And I'll just spend every one that I can there, basically, if you can use your, whatever that move's called. Holy shit, Frozen Touch. And here, I'll still be trying to generate. You can even burn most of them on 2. See there, I could have just burned it on 2. And again, I have 25 until my Icy Veins is up. I have 3 here, so I can burn pretty well. But I am sort of sparing until my Icy Veins come up. That's guaranteed crit. That's generally how you're going to be getting as much effect out of chain reaction as you possibly can. Oops. And also you can go Water Jet before your Icy Touch to maybe get some more crits. See there, I would have got more effective damage had I casted it first. And you generally want to weave Frostbolts in between almost everything. Here I'm on 3 though, so I should spin as fast as possible. I'm just gonna throw another orb just in case. Or a bomb. I don't have bomb up, but honestly, I mean, it's sort of a heated debate between bomb. I just wasted that. Just expect me to fuck up a lot. I'm trying to explain things while I talk, but or while I am DPSing. But here, with so many cooldowns, I'm just gonna be spamming everything that I can away. And here, I still have cooldowns, and I'm on 2 here. You can even get an Ebb and Bolt, even with a long cast, when you have 3 up. And here, I just want to get that last one up in 3. So I'll take another break for a second. But there's sort of a heated debate between Frostbomb and Arctic Gale. Frostbomb's pretty tough to keep up in sort of a raid environment, in an actual fight, basically. And Arctic Gale will give you 30%. But even if you don't really have it up all the time, you know, Frostbomb is going to give you more than. I mean, I didn't really have a lot of uptime on Blizzard there, but that's mostly because I'm trying to manage my stacks as well as possible. So, you know, even with another third of 30% damage on the Blizzard damage I have now, it's not going to outdamage Frostbomb, so I take Frostbomb. Even though, I mean, you saw me mess it up several times. Going with Incanter's Flow just means that you don't necessarily have to try to pack as much damage into Rune's power as possible. You can sort of. It keeps your rotation a lot smoother. You're able to burn all of your cooldowns, obviously, but then also you can sort of try to push for some extra stacks inside of your icy bands, and that's a good way to just extend your damage a little bit more efficiently. Obviously I'm pulling terrible DPS here, but we'll see if we can actually pull some decent amount of DPS, just so that, you know, considering I am 863, I don't want to disgrace myself here and all of the Frost Mages. Okay, so Freecast Frostbolt. So then it'll get a little bit more stable now. Hopefully I'm not breathing into the mic. I noticed that was the last time I recorded. Oops. And here, I'll even burn it too. And I got a lucky 3 there. And then you just try to keep your chain reaction up as much as possible. It gets easier after a while. Here, I'm not even going to waste my Icy Touch until I can get something out of it. There we go. Get 2 stacks. 3 stacks here. And you do want to get your Frostbomb out of the way. Or not your Frostbomb. Your Brain Freeze. Get your Brain Freeze out of the way pretty much as soon as possible, just so that you don't accidentally stack buffs. I'll try to get through the rotation to where you come back up to your icy veins. That'll kind of make it a little bit easier. And I'll try not to just spam frost bolts without ever using blizzard like a noob. Here I'm just conserving, trying to take advantage of chain reaction until I'm trying to weave frost bolts in as much as possible. I'll drop down to about 260k here, but obviously messed up a couple times. I mean, optimum damage with this. I mean, you can't really base it off of bio level. It's more to do with your stats. Once you get to the point where you're at about 40% haste and 30% crit, you're gonna find that versatility is a lot more valuable, because then you're sort of held back by the fact that you can't extend your icy veins out as long as you'd like to. And generally, I mean, really generally with any spec, I mean, that's the stat stick is so strong, because having a balance of stats as you bring them up is going to be a lot more effective than just having like 100% haste and 0% everything else. So I don't know, it's probably easy enough to understand. I don't know why I'm elaborating that far, but Blizzard is something that I underutilize, and that's just a mistake in my play right now. So don't take my exact rotation to heart. You want to be weaving blizzards, and blizzards are actually better than frostbolts, even with chain reaction taken into account. Now, once we have obnoxious amounts of haste and maybe even a little bit mastery, then blizzard will lose a little bit of its value, but it still generates fingers of frost, so you want to have it up as much as you can. And I haven't really talked about like best in slots or anything, but best in slot relics will be these, your frozen veins. Mostly because that's what having your icy veins up as much as possible is pretty much your goal, especially in this specific spec. I can go over some other, like, Mythic Plus specs later if people need me to, but I'll probably just leave it there. I mean, I'll come back and edit it later, because since it's been 4 days, then I've already picked up more knowledge than I had the last time I played. So I'm just trying to leave you guys with as fresh knowledge as I can. So that's your general build path. After I get this frostbolt damage, I'll be pushing up to black ice and getting the frozen orb later, because it does like 1% of my damage. It's basically nothing. And yeah, so that's your general, I guess, best neck and chance. Probably Satyr, because anything that procs would do really well with. Honestly, I could beat out the stat stick if I had a much higher version of the Swarming Plague Hive, because Frost, just because of how often you're hitting, and Flurry hits 3 times, and your Blizzard hits, and I'm not even sure if you get procs off pet hits, but your pet hits. So you want to have, procs are just very beneficial. That's why most of our best in slots are procs. So I don't know. I can't really tell what else I should be explaining further, but don't take this as like gospel or whatever, because there's about 7 different builds you can do with Frost, and everybody, I mean, there's no real perfect optimal setup. If you're gonna be, the perfect optimal setup would be the Simcraft maximum DPS setup would probably be this exact build, but with Rune of Power. And you just have to be a robot. You'd have to be a god. There's just no way that anybody can play that optimally, because there'd be so much to pay attention to. Plus, you have to dodge the abilities from a boss. Maybe on a dummy, you could pull pretty fantastic DPS, but that's sort of, I don't know, Sims. Just don't take Sims to heart, especially with Frost, because Thermal Void is going to throw all of that very far off. They're always going to assume that you have like 90% uptime on your Thermal Void, so you'll get better at extending thermal void as you play. You probably just want to practice on a dummy for a while. Um, but yeah, because we don't have small phases of a lot of bursts. We sort of have our damage extended out over a period of time. It's just a little bit easier to. I don't know what I'm trying to explain. I feel like you guys probably get it. So either way, have fun. Hope this is helpful, and I'll probably come back later with more information and hopefully more relevant or better information. So you guys have a good one.